Welcome to my channel, friends. This is the first time I'm doing something like this, so please forgive me if it doesn't make any sense. I decided to do a rambling style podcast. I have done absolutely no edits on this, so if things make a little less sense than they should or they bounce around on ideas, that's just the way it's going to be. I recommend that you take notes in whatever form is comfortable for you, and you can always come back to the video and watch it again later. Please remember that this is just my opinion. I'm not telling you how to create content. Of course, you can do whatever you want to do in your life. And if some of this works for you and some of it doesn't, then great. If none of it works for you, that's okay too. I just thought I wanted to get out my thoughts on creation, how I've gotten to where I am, and maybe it could help others that deal with similar things that I deal with feel a little bit better about being a disabled person in the world of content creation. Let's talk about being a content creator who is disabled or has chronic illness, neurodivergent, anything like that. One of the common things that people say about being a successful content creator is consistency. And this particularly comes into play when you are talking about Twitch live streams. The thing is that yes, consistency is key, but community is more important. Growing a community based off of your beliefs and who you are will counteract your inability to be consistent. What I mean by this is that it's important to talk to your community about your disabilities, about your inability to always be consistent, but don't make it a huge focus point of every single stream. Generally speaking, and this is my opinion, you don't have to follow it, of course, and I'm sure that there will be some backlash saying how, well, we should talk about it, we should be advocates for it, and how, like, you can't tell us that we can't talk about it. I'm not telling you that you can't. I'm saying that, generally speaking, when people go to a Twitch stream, it's to escape the world in some way, or learn about the world in a gentle manner, so you can choose to do one of those things. By talking about how you consistently can't be consistent and making it a topic of every single stream, that's all people know you for. All they will think is, well, they're not going to be live today, or they probably won't be live today, because that's the thing you've put in their head most frequently. Instead, what you can do is counteract this with being consistent in other ways. Consistently be a source of education for something that you love, or consistently be a place where people can relax, or consistently be a place where people can learn. You don't have to put no politics in your rules. In fact, I don't believe in putting no politics in your rules, because if you don't do politics, politics are still going to do you. But I digress. Discord is an amazing way to be with your community when you cannot be with your community. There are also low effort ways to be with your community that I think a lot of people don't realize or take advantage of. One is you can mobile stream. If you are confined to your bed for the day, you can always turn your phone on and mobile stream from your bed. You could face the camera at your Switch on your bed and make jokes about your life, and that this is just what happens sometimes, and make it somewhere that you can feel free to be you in every way that you are. And if that doesn't sound great to you, then Discord is a way to do that, like I've mentioned. Discord is a way to low-key be with your community in a way that you don't have to worry about new people coming in all the time, or raids coming in, not having the energy, sitting at your desk. Just get into a voice call, hang out, maybe have someone close to you put a movie on or play a game that you can react to with them, that you're watching them. Bring your community into your life in a way that feels natural to you. You're not restricted to what everyone else is doing. So when you have a disability or chronic illness, sometimes you really have to think outside of the box. Another thing to remember with consistency is that it's not consistency just for your viewers, it's consistency because of algorithms. We talk a lot about consistency, but that's mainly because when you post to things like YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, and so on, the algorithm needs you to be consistent for it to like you. But that's not what your community needs. Your community just needs you to be there. So don't worry so much about making sure you post at the same time on the same days, because your community is going to follow you regardless. The important thing is reminding your community to turn on their notifications for you. Remind them that unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on how you view the world, you're chronically disabled, or whatever your title is, or however you label yourself. You have something that means you can't be as consistent as other creators. So turn on your notifications so you know when I'm there. That's the best thing you can do. So many people are so afraid to remind their community to turn on their notifications, a fear of being that type of creator. But honestly, it's such a great tool. The other thing in terms of social media is don't worry about having every single one of them. It really doesn't matter. The best thing you can do is pick the ones that suit your style of content the best. If you're a gamer and you focus on high energy content like Fortnite or whatever other games there are, I'm out of the loop on that as someone who doesn't play those types of games. But I do know that the better platforms for you are going to be TikTok, short form, quick, easy. You want to hit the high or the climax of whatever moment happened fast and make somebody go, holy shit, great play, or oh my God, that's so funny. But if you're an aesthetic person, let's say you make book content and you co-work, the better things to do are to have Instagram and maybe use Blue Sky or Twitter. But honestly, Instagram is going to be your best friend because that's where all the aesthetic girlies go. You can post aesthetic photos of the books that you're reading or reviewing. You can make shorts to lead them to your YouTube and YouTube to lead them to your shorts. So pick the content that matches the social media that matches the content. And remember that when we're talking about Twitch streaming in particular, the discoverability is near nothing. No one really knows how to search Twitch, and most people don't. They're going to rely on the creators they already know or have found from other platforms to guide them to other creators, which I understand can also be frustrating because that means that you have to, in this moment, I've actually forgotten the word for when you're friends with someone in the industry and then you help each other out. There's a word for this and it'll bug me until the very end and it'll come back when I least expect it. But either way, when you're doing this, remember, it's okay to be hesitant because a lot of people do use others to climb the social ladder rather than making genuine friendships within the industry. So always go into it with a view of this person is similar to me. They have similar views to me. We could be good friends. And over time, you'll want to support each other because you want to see each other succeed. But never, ever, ever go into a relationship with another creator expecting them to help you grow. Coming back around on the topic of different social media platforms and content creation platforms, it's important to remember that YouTube is probably the best platform to create content on to begin with. And it doesn't have to be constantly consistent. Videos on YouTube will pop up in the algorithm when you least expect it. A video from 6 months ago can all of a sudden be getting a bunch of hits because it was in regards to a game that now got an update. Or it was about a topic that's now back in the flow of the conversation. So make content that makes you happy and please consider utilizing YouTube. It's a great tool, especially for us who can't be consistent all the time, who don't have the energy to always be live, because it's content that people can go back to time and time again. Now, I know that YouTube is very different than live streaming, but it doesn't have to be that different. You can still react to the game that you're playing the same way you would if you were streaming with no viewers, which is another good point. If you're going to stream on Twitch and you're new, you have to stream like 1 million people are watching. You have to stream like your community has always been there. Because if you don't go into it with a sense of drive and a sense of who you are and what you want out of it, probably nothing is going to happen. People are going to tune into your channel, but when you're not even realizing that people are there, and if you're not actively engaging, they're probably not going to watch. That's not to say that that doesn't happen. There are situations where people love to just watch a game, but then they're probably there for the game and not for you as a creator. So you have to consider making sure that your personality is what stands out. Talk about the things you love, make jokes, just be you. And I hate to say this, but it needs to be said. Remember that not everyone is suitable to be a content creator, at least not in the way they may want to be. Not everyone is suitable to make content on Twitch. Twitch is so time consuming, so energy draining. You have to be so attentive to everything going on all the time. And it's a very, very overwhelming concept. You might be better off making content for YouTube, something that's a little bit more organized, something that can be edited down, something that is going to just be there on the days that you can't. It's also possible that you're better off being a TikTok creator or an Instagram Shorts creator. That's a very successful way to make content creation. Just little hits of pieces of information or little skits that you find funny. It doesn't have to be all or nothing. You can pick and choose and do what's best for you and try. Try everything and don't be discouraged. I know that that's so hard to hear and so hard to take in, really, because I've been there. I've been sitting at the other end of the computer going, why isn't this working? Why am I not succeeding? Why is no one seeing what I'm doing? But that's just how the internet is, and it's frustrating and it's overwhelming, and it's okay to feel that way. Let your feelings come to the surface, understand where they're coming from, shake them off from your body, and keep creating because you want to create. Don't let a world designed to be against us stop you from being who you want to be. And I'll pause here to say I do apologize that this is a little bit all over the place, but I found that just doing a video in a podcast style was a lot easier for me to get these thoughts out. Another thing I want to touch on is, as a creator, you really want to showcase who you are, but you have to remember that the more information you give your community, two things will happen. One, they'll have a harder time latching on to you as a concept, which sounds very robotic and dry or just inhuman. But unfortunately, that is how the internet works. Your community is only seeing a small part of you. And if you try to explain every little thing that you love, it's going to become too overwhelming. So make sure that some things you keep for yourself. It's not just good for the community, it's good for you. You need to have hobbies that don't involve them. You need to have things that you can do to wind down that are not to make content out of. And you also have to be okay with the fact that your community is never really going to know you. They'll know you pretty well, depending on what you choose to share. But you're still just a person on the other side of a screen. And they might fixate on one thing that you love, for example. And to my community that's listening, please know that I adore you. This is not me bad talking you in any way. But for example, my community, when they think of me, tend to think of nature, animals, swords, fantasy, and anything to do with witches, witchy things, potions, pastries, things that I've decided to share that I love with them. But something that the community doesn't know, or at least they don't know a lot about, is that I'm an avid reader. Now, they do know I read fantasy books and we talk about them all the time, but I read a lot of different things. I read history books. I read anything I can get my hands on, even in just short form formats, maybe a chapter here or there. But this is something that's for me. I don't need to discuss all of that with my community, and sometimes it's helpful when topics are being discussed because I'll have some knowledge on that topic. But they don't know that I have that as a hobby. They don't know that I have a Kindle that I open up and read a chapter here or there from the weirdest books you'd never expect me to read. They also just learned that I love solar punk. They never thought about that because I'm not really a sci-fi person, but I love the idea of mixing nature with science. And they just learned that, and some of them have been around for 7 years. And of course, there's other things that I do, but I don't want to share them because, again, they're for me. They're things that I am interested in, things that I do in my local community. These are not parts of me that I want to share on the internet, and I'm allowed to have that, and so are you. It's even for the better. It allows chat to have an idea of you. I can't believe I just said chat. It allows your community to have an idea of you as a person without them totally knowing who you are, yet knowing enough about you to feel comfortable in your presence. And that leads me to the next point. Don't lie. Don't create a persona of who you are unless you're doing it with intent. It's so important to be honest with your community about what you enjoy, what you don't enjoy, because you're going to hurt people when you lie. It is always, always going to come out. Your beliefs, your views, anything that you have that makes you a core of who you are when it comes to humanity, especially, be honest. Now, obviously, you don't have to listen to me. I'm surprised if you're even still listening to this now, but it's really important because the minute your community learns they can't trust you, it's over for you. It's better to be honest and make a mistake than it is to lie and cover it up. I've seen so many creators just absolutely lose their footing in the industry because they weren't honest about one thing. And sometimes they deserve to lose their footing because the thing they weren't honest about is just being a bad person. But sometimes it's simply that they lied about maybe what they were buying or who they were sponsored with or just little things. And even something as simple as saying that, your favorite color is green and gold, and them finding out that it's pink sets your community up to know that you're not always honest. And if you're lying about something so small, what other things are you lying about? It's not to say you can't change your opinions, but I think that you get the idea. Now, talking about personas, that's another great way as a disabled content creator to not have to worry about feeling like you have to be on all the time. You can create a character. This is where PNG tubing and VTubing really comes in handy. And you probably hear those words and think, yeah, but that's expensive. It doesn't have to be. I'll give you some examples, probably in a later video, but of ways that you can easily become a PNG tuber. In fact, I'll link some resources down below, and if you're interested in another sort of podcasty like video, I can do that too. But it's really actually very simple. And normally a basic computer can run both the basic PNG program and the game that you want to play. This allows you to pick and choose exactly who you want to be on the internet. This is what VTubers are. They create a persona, they create a world. Now, that's not to say that VTubers aren't also themselves. I believe that every single character that's created is a part of the person that created them. And you still have to be open and honest with your beliefs, stand up for the things that you believe in, put your foot down in chat, on Twitch especially, when someone is acting a way that they shouldn't be acting, because your community needs to know that you'll take care of them. But having a character allows you to start with an idea of who you want to be, start with an idea of the content you want to create. But I'll probably go into that in another video. I'll be honest, I had to step away from this recording, so I've completely lost my train of thought. Oh, I remember something. I was going to talk about how, as a disabled streamer, someone who has chronic pain, if you can set up your computer near a bed, a sofa, or wherever you're more comfortable to play your game, I do highly recommend it. Only because it does allow you to be more consistent, because when you don't feel great, you can still actively be present. However, the downside to this, it does mean that your space of relaxing and rest does become your space of work. So there's a disadvantage to it, but let's be real. Having a disability of any kind is kind of a disadvantage. So you could try it, see if it works for you. It might not. Maybe you don't want to do that. These are just suggestions. The other suggestion I'm going to give you, which is a suggestion for all streamers, focus on your microphone, not your camera. Your chat needs to be able to hear you clearly and well. It doesn't matter if they can't see you. If you're being interactive, you're talking to them, you're having a good time, and the game is present, that's fine. That's all that matters. Now, if you're going to be a just chatting streamer, then the situation's a little different. But if you're going to put any income into anything at all, make it your microphone. Now, don't go out and buy the Shure. It's a great microphone, don't get me wrong, but you definitely don't need it. If I'm going to recommend any microphone to you, I'm going to recommend the Audio Technica. I personally use the Audio Technica AT2040, which is only $100, but it does require you to have a XLR setup. However, they do have microphones that use USB. They're just a little bit more expensive. I think they come in around $150 US. But I've never had a problem with the microphone. I highly recommend them, and they're way less expensive than some of the other brands, but still in the pricier range, so you get that great quality. No, I'm not sponsored by them. It'd be really cool if I were, but I am not. I think this is a good time to mention, don't try to keep up with other content creators, because a lot of the time you will see a lot of content creators have specific gear, specific chairs, specific keyboards. You don't need it. They call us influencers for a reason, right? And I've kind of always hated the term. You don't have to have what everybody else has. You need the things that work for you within the world that you have, within your budget. Just because somebody has something else doesn't mean that it's even going to work for you. So don't worry about keeping up with other streamers. For example, the gaming racing chairs, the amount of people I know that spent way too much money on those only to find out that they're extremely uncomfortable, it's me, I'm one of them, just proves that we do not need to have what everybody else has. And in regards to money, game demos are an amazing way to create content with a limited budget. And I'm talking about this specifically in regards to disabled creators because generally speaking, we tend to be people that have less budget to spend on things. Our day jobs either take too much out of us to do anything, or we don't have a day job, we're on disability. There's tons of reasons why we tend to be people with less income. So utilize game demos. Every time you play a game, even if it's just for yourself, open up OBS and record your gameplay. Have your microphone on so that while you're reacting to it, while just playing it on your own, you have that content. You could turn it into shorts, you could turn it into a demo playthrough, you can edit it down. There's tons of reasons to make sure that you record every game that you're playing, unless of course you know for sure you just want it for you. But even then, I do recommend, if you can record it, to record it. It's great to have that stuff in your little back pocket in case you need it later. It's also a great way to get into content creation. Play demos of games that you're looking forward to, and you never know, if it does well, that game developer might reach out to you with a code, which is another point I'm going to make. Always have your contact email visible on every single site you have, be it Instagram, TikTok, Twitch, YouTube, I don't care. Have your email visible in everything. Put it in your YouTube description for contact, put it in your Twitter bio, make sure it's visible, because that's how game devs get a hold of you. Make it short and sweet, even if you have to make a new one. This is getting a little bit long, so I think I'll cut it off here. But if you liked me rambling about content creation and being a disabled content creator, or just a content creator in general, and you want more things like this, please let me know. In the future, if I do any, I'll try to do visuals as well. But for this one, I'm just doing it like a podcast. So I hope that you enjoyed it and found it helpful. It was just me rambling about my thoughts. So it's a little all over the place, but it is what it is. I wanted to get this out there. I wanted to have my friends have a resource they could come back to and hopefully remind themselves that you're doing the best you can in a world set out against you. Be easy on yourself, be tender with yourself, and be honest with yourself. I believe in you. I know that you can do whatever you set your mind to. It's just that it might take you a little bit longer and maybe down a different path than others. And that's okay. And as always, have a very magical day.